can't do this. This is not possible. This is not physically possible. I'm a fisherman. I know what happens when you step out on the water. And he begins to sink. And you know the thing I love about that is that immediately Jesus was there to take his hand and lift him up again. And they walked on the water back to the boat. Jesus didn't say, well, there you go. You doubted. You made a mess. Swim back to the boat yourself. He reached out and picked him up, and they walked back to the boat together. When Jesus said he was going to go and die, the Bible says Peter rebuked him. Don't do that. Put his foot in it again. And Jesus said, get back in line. That's what God has sent me to do. Don't be putting that down. And then at the Last Supper, when Jesus said again he was going to go and die, Peter says, as only Peter can say, if I have to die with you, I'm going to go with you all the way. You can count on me. The ironic thing is we have a tendency to give Peter a hard time when he didn't fulfill that. But guess who else said at the Last Supper, I will die with you as well? You know who did? It says it right in there. It says everybody said that. Everybody. Thomas said that. Peter the worst thing that happened to Peter was not that he betrayed Jesus, but that he betrayed himself. And you see, that's the main problem we have. When we promise something, when we promise ourselves something, when we promise the Lord something, and then when we fail, we feel bad mostly because we've let ourselves down. And our self-confidence is completely shot. And if I say, I'm going to follow the Lord no matter what, and then I fall down on a job, then I'm going, how can I ever say that again? And Peter felt so bad it says he went out and wept, and then he went fishing. So, guys, here's the thing. Fishing's fine. But don't use that as a substitute for following the Lord. That's a whole side message. But Peter's confidence was shot. He said, why would Jesus want me anymore after I have failed him so much? Why should I have any confidence in myself when I have failed myself? I like how the angels, when they came to the women, they said, go and tell his disciples and Peter that he's risen from the dead. Go and tell Peter he's back. See, that's another thing. That's where Arnold got it from. Arnold, you know the famous line of Arnold, I'll be back. You know where he got it from? Jesus. Jesus, who said, I'm going to go to Jerusalem and suffer and die, and then I'll be back. So the angels told the women, go tell the disciples and Peter, be sure to tell Peter that he is back. Peter ran to the tomb to see, didn't see anything that satisfied him. Saw Jesus in the upper room, but because of his self-confidence, it was now in the gutter. He thinks Jesus can't use me anymore. I'm sunk. And so he goes to the only place that he knows, and that is back to the lake, back to fishing. And so we find him in this story now. Jesus goes to Peter. He gives breakfast to everybody that's there, but he goes to Peter and says, Peter, three times he asks him, do you love me? And Peter got the answer right the third time. When Peter said, you know that I love you. And Jesus did know that Peter loved him. And you see, this is the thing that we need to remember. We need to get into our hearts. Jesus knows how we feel. Jesus knows what's going on in our lives. Jesus knows what we think, where our heart is. And when we say to him, Jesus, I love you, he hears that. He understands that. Even when we fall down, he knows that we love him. And he takes the time to pick Peter up and dust him off and say, let's get back to work. Your job is not done. Your job is only beginning. And I know that you love me. And I have a job for you to do. And I'm not leaving you behind. How blessed I have been all week when I began to hear that over and over and over again. Thomas, I'm not leaving you behind. Peter, I'm not leaving you behind. Nate, I'm not leaving you behind. Whatever your struggles are, whatever your confusion is, whatever your doubts are, whatever your lack of confidence is, I'm not leaving you behind. Peter went on to preach the first two sermons of the early church. 8,000 people came to Christ. Peter went on to open the door for the Gentiles so that you and I can have... Do we have any Jews here? I don't want to talk about it. Okay, if you're not a Jew, you're a Gentile, which means that only because of Peter going on with the Lord have you had a chance to hear the gospel. No man left behind. They got that concept from Jesus, who says to you and says to me and says to any of his children, I will never leave you behind. Even when you fall down, even when you want to quit, even when you have a hard time, even when you run out of confidence, I will not leave you behind. I'll come back to you. I read a Tom Clancy book one time that had in it a helicopter pilot who was from Vietnam. And he came to be known as the king of search and rescue. Because if somebody needed to be rescued in the jungles of Vietnam and nobody else could get there, this guy could get there. This guy could take his helicopter into enemy fire. This guy could take his helicopter places where nobody else could take a helicopter, and he could rescue whoever needed to be rescued. And see, here again, we've got where popular culture has picked up from Jesus. You know where Tom Clancy got the idea of the king of search and rescue from? From Jesus. He is the king of search and rescue. He is the king of, one of my kids is lost, I'm going to go get him. One of my kids has fallen behind, I'm going to go rescue him. One of my kids doesn't know if he can keep going, I'm going to go encourage him so he can keep going. So when you hear of Jesus as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, remember that He's also the King of search and rescue. That's what He did for Thomas. That's what He did for Peter. And that's what He'll do for you. So when you're at your lowest moment, when you're at your, I can't go any further, look around, maybe listen for a helicopter. Well, Jesus is not in a helicopter, but you know what I mean. Watch for Jesus because He'd come for you. I am so thankful that when Jesus rose from the dead, one of the results of rising from the dead is so that He could stay in touch with His kids. So that He could always be with His people. So that He could be with His people forever to the end of the world, He said. And so that if somebody needed Him, if somebody needed to be found and rescued, whether it was Thomas or whether it was Peter or whether it was Nate or whether it's you, He's going to come for you. Keep an eye out for Him. Let's pray. Father, thank You for sending the King of Search and Rescue to find us. Not just one time, but as many times as it takes. Pray for anyone here today who's feeling lost. Help them to understand that Jesus came to rescue them. I pray for anyone here who's ready to give up, or maybe already has. Feels like the Lord can't use them anymore, or they're confused. Help them to hear the word of Jesus today. He comes for them. Father, I ask You to encourage each of us day by day as we face the things that we have to deal with in life, that we may always watch for Jesus, for His guidance and help and rescue if we need it. In His name, amen.